Hello, 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 Facebook, and welcome to Marriage Beyond the Breach, another episode of Marriage Matters. I am Valerie Mason Chase, and this here tall drink of water right here is my husband,
Frank.
That's all right, babe. I can call you my tall. You're still my tall glass of water. After all these years, you're still my tall glass of water. So, anywho, welcome. Thank you for being here with us this evening. And today we're going to talk about something that I believe every couple has to figure out for themselves. And that is how much transparency and how much privacy. If privacy even is a thing in committed relationships. So we're going to talk about that this evening. I want you to hear something what Mr. Babyface had to say about secrets and transparency and privacy. Check this out. I hope you hear that. So in this ballad, Babyface is he's declaring he ain't gonna never keep no secrets. He ain't gonna tell no lies. But how much? What is really a secret in a marriage? And what do you say about that, Frank?
That's a tough thing. There actually shouldn't be any secrets, but sometimes it's tough, especially if someone else confides in you about something. Do you come home and share that with your spouse, or do you keep it to yourself? Hence, you're keeping something from your spouse. And I think as long as it probably doesn't impact your relationship or your marriage, then it's okay.
Yeah. And you know what? Just for full disclosure, me and this tall drink of water here, we are not in 100% agreement on transparency versus privacy. But we're going to talk about that some more as we go along. I mean, we've come to a compromise regarding that because we don't agree 100%. Me, as far as I'm concerned, ain't nothing off limits. Okay, what's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. The word of God say we won. So hey, it's my stuff. It ain't your stuff no more. You ain't got no secret. You ain't got nothing apart from me because the Bible say we won. What you say?
But how many times have I heard you say, "Well, why are you touching my stuff? If it's our stuff, why is it your stuff?" Somehow the translation is lost for me. But...
oh my goodness! You had to remind me of that, right? See, that's a drawback. You know, in long-term committed relationships, sometimes your words can be used against you. Sometimes your own words, your own positions, your own feelings can be used against you. Now, he just reminded me that I say sometimes, "Why you touching my stuff?" But usually I'm referring to something in the refrigerator. I'm not referring to other electronics and stuff like that. So yeah, transparency versus privacy. And, you know, being transparent simply means that we're in a relationship. We share our thoughts, we share our feelings honestly, without any fear of judgment or repercussion. Because who wants to share something openly if you feel you're going to be judged by it?
That's true. And I have those problems. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to share because I am concerned how it's going to be received or what's going to be said back to me, which causes me not to say how I'm feeling or what I want to talk about.
Yeah. And see, I am such a strong advocate for transparency. However, I don't always make it easy for Frank to be transparent. And that's just keeping it 100, as the kids say. And a safe environment is necessary in order for transparency, because we can't say on the one hand we want our significant other to be completely open, to be completely honest and completely transparent, if we're not going to create a safe environment to do so. Hey Nene, hey Jackie, love y'all. Or if we are going to give them all this negativity based on them being transparent. So like Frank said, I believe marriage, there's no room for secrecy in a marriage. But we've got to have that trust. And, you know, all successful relationships are built on trust. It's part of that glue that holds a marriage, a long-term relationship together.
I think the transparency aspect is easier when the trust is intact and it's not broken. Once it's broken, it's harder to be transparent. Because you might be doing something you shouldn't be doing, of course, and you want to keep it under wraps, so you don't want someone going through your wallet and those things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I find that the amount of transparency that exists in a committed relationship is directly proportional to the amount of trust. The more trust, the more transparency. The more transparency can also lead to more trust. So it's kind of a cycle. It's that relationship where they kind of feed off of each other. It's almost impossible to have one without the other, because without trust, there ain't going to be no transparency. And without some degree of transparency, it's going to make it difficult to have a level of trust where people can feel comfortable. Hey, Pearl, Nene, hey, Hammy, love y'all. And each day, our goal should be to increase the amount of trust and transparency, because based on our behaviors and based on our interactions, the trust and the transparency is either decreasing or is increasing. And it's based directly on our interactions, how we treat one another, how we show up for one another, whether we are fully open with our partner. It's really important to always work towards that. And recently I read an article. Actually, the article was put out in 2012 in Psychology Today. And the author of the article was a Dr. Douglas Labier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but it's Labier. And he had an article. The title of the article was this: Is radical transparency the key to relationship success? And one of the things he said in his article, he said, mounting research supports the value of radical transparency, including studies that find that people who are truthful about themselves experience more relationship intimacy and well-being and better romantic relationships. Now, he is describing something that is called radical transparency. So, Lovey, when you hear the term radical transparency, what comes to mind for you?
What comes to my mind is that I'm not open or willing to even talk about it. I think it's kind of like saying someone's crazy in their way of thinking. That's what comes to mind.
And Dr. Labier, he said that there are two parts to radical transparency. And radical, when you think about something radical is really to the extreme. And do we desire extreme transparency in our committed relationships? I do. He don't necessarily do, but I do.
I don't. And again, it goes back to what I said. You know, if there's trust, there's less reason to want to snoop around per se.
Oh,
you know,
it's on now.
My mother used to always say, when you go looking for something, when you go, she used to phrase it, if you go looking for trouble, you're gonna find trouble. And I had that problem. So we go back to this is my stuff. And
it's on now.
Before the trust was broken in our relationship, I felt there were certain things that were my stuff, and you just don't go in it. Show me the respect. But again, when that trust is broken and respect is gone, now all holes. No, there's no holes barred. You want to go through everything. So I have a problem. I'm not where she is in terms of complete. There's some things I'm completely understand about transparency. Some things I don't want you going through because it's mine.
Well,
it's myself.
Guess what? I'm going through it. He already know that. So I'm just keeping it real. My sister Jackie said the key is being honest with yourself about yourself. And that's so true. But I want to comment on something Frank just said about this whole thing about if you go looking for something, you're going to find something. Well, first of all, like they say out in the street, first of all, there shouldn't be nothing to find. So it ain't about whether you're going to find something. If you look, you should be able to look with the assurance that there's nothing to find. Because whether you look or don't look, there shouldn't ought to be anything there. So anywho, getting back to what Dr. Labier said about radical transparency, he said there are two aspects of it. One is being open and revealing about yourself to your partner. And this includes letting go of inhibitions, letting go of defensiveness and feelings that you might be harboring about what you have not revealed, but also acknowledging your reluctance to do so. The other part of radical transparency, the flip side, is being open and receptive to your partner's reality. Because see, we can say, you know, I'm going to be transparent. Hey, Charles, how you doing, brother?
I am, Frank. Sorry.
We're gonna I'm going to be completely transparent, but also to be receptive. And I kind of touched on that earlier, to be receptive to my partner's transparency, the stuff that Frank needs to share with me when he is being completely open and being completely honest. Hey, I got to ask myself, Val, how are you going to receive that? You know, that old saying, listen, if you don't want to know the answer to a question, if you ain't ready, don't ask. Okay. So sometimes Frank and I have to go through that scenario with one another before asking a question. Before I ask him something, I have to say and ask myself, Val, okay, are you ready to hear the answer no matter what the answer is that he gives? And usually I'm going to say yes anyhow because I want to hear it. Okay.
And even I hear that, yes, I'm still reluctant to get it because after 40 some odd years, 41 years of marriage is 40 by law, 41 together. I've learned to read between the lines. Now that yes, I'm like, oh, she don't really want to hear this.
And you know, that's another thing that can hold us back from being transparent is the assumption that our partner either doesn't want to hear it or can't handle it.
Or the response you're going to get is you're going to feel like you're beat upon by being honest.
Right. You get beat up for your honesty. And that's not a sign of a healthy relationship, because we should be able to completely open up with our partner. This is the person we're sharing our very life with. We trust, listen, when we go to bed every night and lay down together, I am trusting him with my life. So if I can trust him with my very life, why can I not trust him with my truth? Why can't I trust him with my truth if I can trust him with my life? And he has my life in his hands every night when I go to sleep. If he wants to, he could get a brick, knock me upside the head, and that's all she wrote. So we trust each other that much, but sometimes we don't trust one another with our truth. So Frank, here's a question. Who do you think trusts more in a relationship? Someone who is in a new relationship or someone who's been in a long-term relationship? What do you think? That was just my speaker turning off.
When I looked at that question and thought about it several times, I have a tendency to kind of go with someone new. And I say that because, using us for an example, we got a lot of years together. A lot of stuff has happened. Trust has been broken. To rebuild that takes time, effort, patience. When you're coming in new with a relationship, you haven't had a chance to kind of muck it up.
Exactly.
So you're more willing to trust what you hear, what you see, less questions about it.
Yeah.
And again, I could use mine as an example. When we got together, if I said I was going somewhere, you know, I get more of, okay, baby, safe. You know, years into the marriage, depending on where we were, I'm going somewhere. Well, I need you to call when you get there. Who you going to see? What time you coming back?
That's right.
So I'm gonna lend someone kind of new in a relationship.
Yeah, and I happen to agree with that, because in a new relationship, you're learning each other, and it's easier to trust because, like Frank said, trust has not been broken yet. There hasn't been anything that has happened that would lead you to not trust that individual. So if the trust is there in the new relationship, you're probably going to be a little bit more transparent and forthcoming because there hasn't been anything to interrupt it yet. You're getting to know one another. The only exception to that, I think, would be people who are kind of predisposed to being distrusting. Those who have had toxic or unhealthy or abusive relationships in the past, when they get into a new one, they tend to bring that baggage along with them into this new relationship. So they're going to be predisposed to not trust. But outside of that, if both people are emotionally healthy, they enter in like with a blank slate. Okay, I'm not going to distrust you unless and until you give me a reason to distrust you. And prayerfully, that won't happen. Jack said that was good, brother-in-law. So listen, how much do you share with your significant other, and how much, if anything, do you hold back?
You asking me?
I'm asking you. Because I got my ear. I'm listening.
At this point, again, I go back to using our relationship as an example. When we first got together, no trust violence. So I was willing to share anything. As time went on, especially when I was doing what I shouldn't have been doing. You don't want to share things. You don't want to be found out. And it becomes tough to share things that you feel are going to cause a problem. So it's a fence you got to walk carefully. You should share everything. That's going to impact your marriage. There are certain things you don't share. A friend confides in you. That's not something I need to come home and share with my wife.
Yeah. But I think I agree with Frank on that you should share absolutely everything with your partner, especially those things that pertain to the relationship. Now, are there things that maybe have not been shared yet? Perhaps you're waiting for the right time. You're waiting for the right situation to share whatever that particular thing is. But yes, absolutely. No secrets. Talk about everything. Share everything. Don't hold anything back. And just pray that your partner is also in a healthy, emotionally healthy enough position that they can handle your truth. Like what Jack Nicholson said in that movie, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. And sometimes that's true about us in relationships. Sometimes we say we want the truth. We may think we want the truth, but then we can't handle the truth. But then I have to ask a question following up on that. What does handling the truth look like? How do we determine whether or not our partner has handled our truth?
That's a good question. To me, handling the truth is if I tell you something and it doesn't become 1,000 questions or accusatory. You're entitled to your feelings. Maybe we'll talk about it. I guess you can get upset and angry, but for me, it comes down to how you respond to my truth. Because how you respond sometimes is going to help me come back to you with other truths.
Yeah. But then on the flip side of that, is that really fair to hold your partner's response or reaction to your truth against them? Because suppose it does piss them the hell off and they get mad. Well, I don't think that's fair to hold that against them. I think we are entitled to have whatever response we have to the truth that our partners share. Now, it's important that we come down off that angry mountain at some point and be able to have a rational, healthy conversation about it. But my initial response, my initial reaction, hey, Francis, my initial response, I'm entitled to that. Frank is entitled to that. So if you share your truth and if you are completely transparent with your partner and they get upset or they start crying or they cuss you out, does that mean they haven't handled it? I don't know. I'm not so sure about that.
For the moment, that's how they handle it. You might say later on that person is probably able to extend to you, you know what, I could have handled that better. But at the moment, this is exactly how I felt, and I needed to get it out.
Well, I would rephrase that. I wouldn't necessarily say I could have handled it better. I would say I could have handled it differently. Okay, because one response is not necessarily better than the other.
Sure.
So I would say, okay, when you told me that, Frank, I got mad, I cussed you out, I started calling you all kind of mofos. But you know what? Looking back on it, I could have handled that differently. So let's talk about this now.
And we've had many instances like that where I felt good about it, because before I'd get one reaction and never get that comeback about, hey, babe, this is the way maybe we should have spoke. And I feel so much better when I hear that.
Yeah.
And it puts me in a position like, okay, we could talk about anything now.
Right.
There were times when we didn't, or we used those responses. In my case, I used those responses, either angry, walk out the house. But No, not now.
Yeah, because before he just used to get the cuss out. He ain't getting none of that comeback. Oh, baby, I could have handled it differently. But we've grown. We're older now. We're in our 60s now. And that being the case, we're supposed to be able to mature in the ways in which we respond and react and communicate with one another. So, Frank, we've been talking a lot about what transparency is. So I just want to touch briefly on what transparency is not. Transparency is not speaking to your partner without a filter and with no regard for your partner's feelings. We should still have a filter. There's a scripture in Ephesians 4:15 that talks about speaking the truth in love. We can speak the truth, but it should always be seasoned with love and grace. There's another scripture that says a gentle answer turns away wrath. So sometimes the way we approach our partner, that also can help to determine how they're going to respond. Are we going to just flat out, not care about their feelings? Hey, Claire, my sister Claire, hey, girl, just say whatever we want because the thought came into our head and we have no regard for our partner's feelings? No, that is not what transparency is about. What you grinning at?
I'm sorry, Val's kicking me under the table. I'm just reading something that my son said. I won't read it over.
Well, they can see his comment.
Oh, they can.
They can see his comment.
Okay.
Our son is Mr. Chase, by the way, so you can see his comment. Wait, I ain't paid that boy no mind. That boy crazy. I ain't paid that boy no mind. Yeah. So, hey, Sidell, my baby girl, Sidell just joined. So, anywho, transparency is not speaking unfiltered and with no regard for your partner's feelings, because there's a way to share information. There's a way to be transparent. I always tell my clients, when you're going to have a conversation, especially one of those quote unquote difficult conversations, always lead with love. Always lead with love when in those moments when you're going to have those difficult or challenging conversations, because otherwise your partner can leave the conversation just feeling totally beat up.
Yeah, go shut down quick.
Lead with love, end with love when you have to have those types of conversations, especially if you're going to open up about something that maybe you have done or said, or something has occurred that you kind of anticipate your partner's not going to be too happy about. You definitely want to lead with love during those conversations. So another thing that transparency is not, transparency does not mean that you throw wisdom completely out the door in terms of what should be shared and when. Because remember, timing is one of those T's that are a factor in communication. So timing can be everything. Okay, if I'm about to share something, I'm about to be transparent with Frank. Let's say hypothetically we're going to have a conversation about our sexual intimacy. The time to have it is not right before or right after we done got busy. That is not the time. So timing is a factor when we're going to be transparent. In fact, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about our sexual intimacy. We sat at the kitchen table and talked about it.
Wow, yeah.
You don't want to have conversations about your sex life in the bedroom.
No, absolutely not.
You want to sit at the kitchen table, sit on the living room couch, sit in the car if you have to, but you don't want to sit in the bedroom to have those types of conversations. So timing, you need to use wisdom in terms of timing and when you are going to share and be transparent with your partner, because you just can't go about willy-nilly just saying anything that comes to mind. You know, sometimes we act like we don't have any filter and we say, oh, well, they should be able to handle it. No, well, if they should be able to handle what you say, then you should be able to temper what you say with love and grace. Right, babe?
I would agree.
So we want to talk now about a few things that you can do to improve transparency in your relationship if you and your partner agree that you want to have that level of transparency in your relationship. Some couples won't. Some couples feel that they cherish their quote unquote privacy. and they don't want to have that level of transparency with their partner. That is only a problem if one partner wants radical transparency and the other partner doesn't want any transparency. That can lead to a lot of hurt feelings. That can lead to a lot of tense arguments, and it can lead to a lot of assumptions. Because listen, hey Lonnie, how you doing? Let me tell you something. I love my husband, but if he come talking about he got a lock on his phone and he ain't gonna give me the pin number to open up the phone, no, we got a problem. We're gonna have to talk about that, okay? So, and if he insists on not giving me access to these things, then that is more than likely going to lead me to ask the question, well, what is he trying to hide? Why does he not want me in his phone?
I mean, obviously, in my situation, there were many reasons that I didn't want to go into my phone. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's hence we have Marriage Beyond the Breach, and we're trying to help couples and continue to help ourselves get beyond any breaches. But even I still felt that was my phone. And again, all things being equal, nothing to hide.
Right.
I still felt violated that she would go in there. Now, it took me a while to just say, okay, here's the password. Mm-hmm. But now, even with the password, I had to be the hawk. Right. Why you go through with it like sitting up on top of you? Okay, like you've been in there 2 minutes. Right. Time's up. Right. Give it back. And there was inner feeling that caused me stress, and I knew there was nothing there, but I still got wound up because I felt I was being violated. You're in there too long. Give me my phone back, or ask me. I want to look at it. Do you mind? Right. But again, with growth and repairing of things, you get to the point where, okay, it's in a room. I still feel that little angst. Okay, I know she's in it. Or when she come to me, what's the password? Oh, you were trying to get in it and you forgot the password. So now you got to come and ask me.
Yeah, because I was trying to do it on the sneak tip, but then I forgot the password. I said, oh God, now I got to go ask.
But see, that would bother me, because I would say, well, why are you sneaking? Her response, I'm not sneaking. If there's transparency, I can go do it. But you are sneaking because you're in the back room doing it. You done forgot the password. Now you got to ask me. I shouldn't give it to you.
That is so true. And I'm going to tell you, that was a struggle for us for a number of years to get. Hey, Paula, love you, sis. That was a struggle for us for a number of years to get to the point where Frank was comfortable with me looking in his cell phone, especially with him not looking right over my shoulder. That was a struggle. But, like I said, time has passed. We've grown and we're past that now. But for couples for whom that is still an issue, you got to sit down and talk about this and agree on some sort of compromise. Because your spouse, if you insist on your spouse, you can't, this is my phone, you can't look at my phone, and you can't have the password, and you can't have the sign on to my bank account, and you can't have the password to my Facebook. You can't sign. I mean, you got to talk about that, because if that is an insistence on one of the partners, the other one who's locked out is going to start asking those questions. Well, what is it that he or she does not want me to see? Because I know I certainly did. When Frank didn't want me looking at his phone, and when I couldn't look on his Facebook, but I used to get slick. See, because I knew technology a little bit better than him. I changed the password and give myself access.
See? But that's being sneaky.
That was being sneaky. Listen, so he'd be locked out of his own Facebook page because I'd be done changed the password. And I mean, I'm laughing about it now,
we
but
could do that. We could do that now.
I am not advocating doing something like that. I am absolutely not advocating doing something like that, because when a person has to resort to those measures, then that means that there is a real breakdown in the relationship. There's a breakdown in connection. There's a breakdown in intimacy. There's a breakdown in communication, and there's a breakdown in trust. So if you feel that you have to resort to doing things like that, then there's trouble in paradise. And the couple is at that point will have to be very intentional about building up their level of intimacy, connection, communication, and trust. So we were supposed to be talking about ways to improve transparency in your relationship. So one of the things is, and I think I said this already, come to an agreement that there'll be no secrets in your relationship. Come to an agreement that there'll be no secrets. Come to an agreement about the level of transparency, how much openness there's going to be. Okay, you can look at my phone. Just come and say, well, Val, I want to look in your phone. Okay, babe, here you go. Or, what's the password to your Facebook account? Or if you have Instagram or Twitter, whatever those a whole bunch of social media now. That social media is going crazy. You got TikTok and you got I don't even know what. I heard about something the other day. I was watching what's that show? I've been binge watching.
Oh, not crazy.
Oh, what is that crazy show?
Catfish.
Catfish. And I've been hearing about all different kind of crazy social media stuff. But whatever social media account you have, ask yourself, are you willing to give your partner access to it? And if not, ask yourself, why not? What is it about that? And what else can couples do, Frank, to improve transparency in their relationship?
Again, we talk about social media, Facebook page, maybe letting them answer your phone, even though that's I'm not saying it's somewhat of a problem, but I would allow it to happen. I mean, I don't answer Val's phone because I look at it as her phone, and whoever's calling on the phone is not calling for me. Now, she might ask me to get it, but what I'll do is bring it to her because that's just me personally. I'm not answering your phone, but that could be something else you do, being allowed to answer one's phone. When you're going somewhere, let them know where you're going. Maybe they need a contact name or number where you are. Share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Share where you're going. Don't just walk out the house and not even say to your spouse or your partner or whomever that where you can. Don't just walk out the door. That to me, that's disrespectful. That we ain't even dealing with transparency now. Now we're dealing with a matter of respect. Pearl says she missed the house phone, right? I hear you, sis. But just say, babe, I'm going to the store. I'll be right back. Or babe, I'm gonna run over here and see John and Liz and visit with the grandbabies for a little while. I'll be right back. Or whatever. But don't just walk out the door and say absolutely nothing, because that's disrespectful. What do you think?
Initially, I was going to disagree with that. But just when you're in a house, one's in one part of the room, I would agree you don't just walk out.
Right.
But I think it's okay to just say, I'll be back, and that be enough.
Without saying where you're going?
Right. See?
Oh, no.
I mean, in my case, a lot of times I'm just going to I would play a lot of when I would play. I'll go to get my newspaper. Now, if I'm going somewhere that's going to require me going for 30 minutes or an hour, okay. But if I'm just going for a couple of minutes, for me, and it's still right now as we talk, if I say, honey, I'll be right back.
Okay. But what does right back mean? And for me, I need to know the destination. Okay. I need to know that Shadell says she's with me. I hear you, baby. Yeah, we here. Because just saying, okay, I'll be right back. Now imagine 4 years ago, if you had said to me, babe, I'll be right back.
Well, see, we were in a different space then.
Well, that's true.
So I fully understand. I'm talking about where we are now.
That's true.
I believe, hey, honey, I'll be right back. I might even say I'll be back in 10 minutes. That should be enough. No, where you're going, what you're getting. And then it becomes, well, get me this. And I wasn't going that way. So I'm just going here. Before, again, when that trust is broken and everything, you got to be accountable for every second of your time, where you're going, who you're going to be with, what time you're coming back. So I get that. I'm just talking right now that I'll be back should be enough.
And Sadell said, now I agree with you 100%, Boo-Boo. She said it's not just disrespectful, but it can also be an issue of safety. Needing to know where your partner is. And that's very, very true. Because suppose something happens and you need to get them or whatever, or get in contact with them, you need to know where they are. Let's say that you can't reach the cell phone, but you know where they are, you can reach them there. So I know you don't necessarily agree,
No, I don't.
But we can agree to disagree. But just don't walk out the house without saying where you're going, okay? And we ain't got no problem.
I get it. I mean, I still might not. I know, might not. There are aspects of that I don't agree. But if that's gonna make her feel comfortable, then I acquiesce. I'm going to get my papers.
Okay, right, I can live with that. Thank you, babe. Thank you. So another thing that you can do to improve transparency in your relationship is talk to your partner first. And by that I mean if something significant happens in your life, or if you have news about something, seek out your partner first and share with your partner first before you share with someone else. Now, you might say, Hammy, I see that, Hammy. I'm going to get you later. That's what he wrote. So, you may feel that, well, I'm at work and, I want to share with my colleagues or something first, but call your spouse. Send them a text message. Share with your spouse first, if it's at all possible, because let's say later on your spouse realizes that you had this wonderful news, but you went around telling everybody else first and told them last. They might feel some kind of way about that. I see his face.
Yeah, I mean,
I told you we didn't necessarily agree on all this stuff.
If the news I have is not going to impact my marriage negatively, especially negatively, it's not going to harm it. If it's something that happened at work that was some kind of special news, I'm there at work. More chances than not, I'm going to share with my coworkers if I got a promotion. And I'm not, maybe not a promotion, but if something happened, I'm liable to talk to them first because I'm right there. I can't reach her at the moment, so I don't. Well, agree.
Yes, you can. You can reach me by text.
Don't mean you're gonna see it.
Well, it's still you've done your part by sending out the text message. Now, whether I see it or not, or if I don't see it for 3 or 4 hours, that's another issue altogether. But at least share it with your partner first, and especially with something like you get a promotion.
Okay, maybe that. But there's something I might share with my best friend, one of my best friends, Gary.
Yeah, that's true.
And before I tell her, because that's something men want to talk about. I'm not saying I wouldn't share it.
Yeah.
But I can see myself talking to him about something first.
Well, yeah. Listen, I'm not referring to men's conversations when they get together and men talk, because when men get together, their conversations have a whole lot of T&A. Okay, let's just keep it real.
We talk about sports too.
Excuse me. They got a whole lot of TNA in their conversations, okay? Because I don't care whether you saved. I don't care how much Holy Ghost you got. If somebody walk by you and her body is banging, you're going to be looking at it, and one of y'all going to say to the other, you see that? So I'm not talking about those types of conversations, because I can accept that. We've been together a long time. I'm a grown woman. I understand the way men talk when they are together. That's a whole lot I don't want to hear about all that TNA. I'm talking about other stuff to share with your spouse first. And another way to improve transparency in your relationship is just to talk about everything. There shouldn't be any subject matter that is completely off limits when it comes to talking to your spouse about it. If there's something that either you or your spouse feels reluctant or uncomfortable or fearful talking about, then it's time to do some soul searching, time to do some reflection, to ask yourself, okay, I really want to talk to my spouse about this, but I'm kind of concerned. I'm kind of uncomfortable talking about this. So I need to ask myself why. Is it something in me, or is it something about the relationship that is resulting in me feeling reluctant or uncomfortable talking to my spouse about whatever the subject is? Because there should be nothing that's off limits. What do you think?
Shouldn't be. As I sit here, there have been things that I wanted to talk to Val about, his family regarding my father and things, how I would feel. But there have been times when I know how I can get emotionally about certain things. And there were a lot of times where I felt I would be looked at as soft or less of a man. So I was reluctant to talk about those things that emotionally was having me, boo-hooing all over the place. So it took me a while to get there. And again, it helped by her response. Again, I come back to that, how someone responds to you opening up.
Yeah.
means how you will carry yourself beyond that.
Yeah, and whether or not they'll come back again.
Correct.
Okay, and let me I'm just going to throw this in here because that applies absolutely to relationships, whether you are married, whether you're dating, whether you're engaged, you're in any committed relationship. That definitely applies. But I'm going to throw out there, it also applies with our children as well, how we respond. Because sometimes children say things to you just to try to get some sort of reaction or response to see how you're going to respond to something, and how you respond will determine, or it can help to determine, whether or not they're going to come back to you with some of their truth again. If they share a truth with you and you're all up in arms and you're all upset, oh my God, they may not come back to share even more serious truth with you at a later time. So it applies in a lot of our relationships. And another way of improving transparency in your relationship is to let your guard down. Try to get rid of those walls. If you have walls built up, emotional walls built up between you and your partner, allow your partner to see who you really are. Who you really are. I mean, is it you that they fell in love with, or is it your representative? Let them see the truth of who you are. I mean, I have known women who their husbands, they wear dentures. Their husbands have never seen them without their dentures. Their husbands have never seen them without their wig. Their husbands have never seen them without their makeup on. And I don't know how they do that. I wear wigs, but I can't sleep in a wig. I can't sleep in makeup. Okay. But I'm wondering if that husband were to ever see that wife without the wig, without the makeup, without the teeth. Have mercy, Lord. Okay. But the thing about it is, give them a chance to love on who you really are, your real self, your real truth, how you really and truly feel about something. My son said I should take my wig off now. I don't think so.
She said, let me see. They didn't say let y'all see.
Thank you. Let my husband see. He see me without wigs all the time. Okay. But seriously, allow your spouse to see who you really are. And hopefully you will be able to see who they really are. See into each other. That's real intimacy. When you can really see the truth of each other. What do you say about that, Lovey?
Excuse me. I would agree 100% with that. Again, using our marriage as an example here, I'm meeting Val, 1980. This is a woman who's traveled, going to college and everything else. And here I am kind of afraid to let it be known, little college, just to get some extra money. Jobs that didn't pay what she paid. So it took me a while to understand that she accepted who I was in terms of our education history, work history, and stuff like that. So that was a big thing for me, to be able to just be myself, flaws and all, and she still accept that.
I still do accept you.
Well, thank you, baby. Thank you.
So anyhow, I just want to say again, transparency is one of those things that's important in a relationship. And discuss with your partner, what is that going to look like for your relationship? Is there going to be more quote unquote privacy? Are there going to be things that are off limits? Are there going to be some things you can say, okay, you can look at this, but you can't look at that? What is it going to look like for you? Because there's not one cookie cutter thing that transparency is. Transparency is whatever you and your partner say it is in your relationship. Some things works for some people. You know that old song, different strokes for different folks. That was Sly and the Family Stone, wasn't it?
I think.
Different strokes for different folks. So on and so on and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. Yes. So whatever works for you and your partner, have at it. So I want to thank you guys for being with me and my husband this evening. This was another episode of Marriage Matters on behalf of Marriage Beyond the Breach. And again, I encourage you, or if you or someone you know who needs or could use some assistance in their relationship, in restoring intimacy, trust, have them reach out to Marriage Beyond the Breach. It's on the bottom of the screen there, marriagebeyondthebreach.com, and schedule a free consultation session, and we can take it from there. Because my strong philosophy is this, that when two people are committed to the relationship, and when they are committed to each other and to growth, that no marriage is beyond redemption. And I'm sitting here telling you, as a woman whose marriage has had a whole lot of breaches, but I can also tell you from a clinical level, because I have a master's degree in counseling, I can tell you from a theological perspective, because I am a minister of the gospel. And I can also tell you from an experiential perspective, because I've been married for 40 years, that when you are committed to your relationship, when both partners are willing to do the work, there is no marriage that is on redemption.
And I can tell you, I don't have all the titles, but I can tell you as a man, when you get beyond that stubbornness and that willingness to try and willingness to listen, once you get past all of that, for me, Marriage Beyond the Breach works.
Absolutely. So I encourage you, just join us on Marriage Beyond the Breach. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with some more topics. And just, give me a shout out. Let me know if there is a particular subject matter that you would like to discuss. We have in mind subjects that we're going to bring every couple of weeks. We'll come back. Hey, Celestine, my sister Cece, I love you. But let me know if there's a particular subject matter that you would like to discuss coming up. Okay. I love you all. And I want to thank you again for being here for Marriage Matters, Marriage Beyond the Breach. God bless you.
I could take the shirt off, right?